I'll call the Tuesday, January 10th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It's approximately 5:30 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Here.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Councilman Shelley?
Here.
Councilman Maldonado?
Here.
Vice Mayor Fairclough? Here. Mayor Porter?
Here. Any additions, deletions, deferrals?
No.
Is there any opposition from the council if we move tab 12 to the beginning, right behind the consent agenda? Okay, we're going to pull tab 12 to the front, do the consent agenda, and go to tab 12, okay? Tab 1 is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 12, Mr. Manager.
Mayor, the staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to purchase commercial property coverage for the policy term of 1/28/17 to 3/31/18 through the ICAT program for a premium of $46,391. This proposal will cover the new police station structure valued at $16,972,000 with contents.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Move it. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 12. Thank you, sir. Tab 2.
Mayor, staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution and authorize city manager to surplus the attached list of miscellaneous items that will be sold by means of online auction or disposed of by authorized procedures. This is in accordance with City of Homestead Code Section 2440, surplus property.
Questions from council? Is there a motion?
Move it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 3.
Mayor, on June 20th, 2016, the Park and Recreation Department applied for a grant with the State of Florida Department of Transportation for the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail. Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to accept the grant and execute the contract once it becomes available between the City of Homestead and State of Florida Department of Transportation. The grant award is $206,000 for preliminary engineering and design of the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail from east of Maury Drive to southwest 137th Avenue.
Questions from council? Comments? Mr. Maldonado?
I didn't see it in the packet, but this, once we accepted it, is there any plans or when does that happen? Do we get to see it? Other than accepting a grant, which we'll happily take. I know we've been working on this for time, but do we have an, was it the old plans that we had that we kind of looked to that and to kind of build what we had in the past?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman. Councilman, what it is this, this trail runs in the South Florida Water Management District, which is on the next to the canal bank. Of course, you have to do engineering, design, everything. This $206,000 gets us prepared once we find funds to do the bike trail, that we will be prepared for bidding and everything ready to go. Okay, so that's what this $206,000 will help us get started on.
So we don't have an existing map or existing architecture, what's going to happen. I've seen the map,
Yes.
with Ms. Waldman was a champion of that.
Right.
And so I think everyone's familiar with it. I was just wondering, is there anything that we have existing that I could look at?
Sure, we have a master plan that the county made up when we were working with Councilwoman Waldman that I could show you. Also, there's a master plan that shows what kind of pavilions, benches, trash cans, stuff like that. But I can send that to you.
We'll send it to the whole council.
Sure, I'll send it to every council member.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was just going to follow up. There is a master plan, which is kind of the generalized idea or design. It's got renderings. It shows everything. It shows the pathways. There's actually two where it connects the direct path from Biscayne to Everglades, but then there's also a couple spurs with a return path so that they can take two different ways to and from, which is I think total of 40-something miles. But it's almost exactly the length of a marathon one way, so that gives us the ability to market it as such for future sporting events and other things, triathlons, marathons, etc. And so this money's are going to help us make it so by the time all of this is done, we're shovel ready. So right now, we're not shovel ready. We have an idea, we have a plan, but these architectural plans, and also I think there was some additional, more money that came through as well to help pay for some other background stuff, so that by the time that's all finished, we'll be shovel ready, and at that point, we'll be up there lobbying for dollars to finish it, whether federal dollars, state dollars, or private funding, or some sort of public-private partnership, and can actually put shovel into the ground and get the product up and running. So it's...
Any information in regards to that? I mean, I know many of us are going to be going up to Tallahassee in the next couple of months, and so if this is something that we could, also jump on and talk to some of our representatives, I think that would be key, especially if it's, this is coming down the pipe right now. It seems like it's something that's in the works.
Yeah, one of the other things, I had a meeting with our lobbyists and with city staff and Parks and Rec to have this very same discussion about putting together a plan of attack as far as going up there and trying to make sure that the issue was ripe if someone wanted to make that argument. We're doing a economic feasibility study, which was approved in the last budget cycle you guys had approved. And so they're actually in the process of doing that right now. My goal is to have that done before March, before the session starts, so that we have what we need to walk in there and show not only is this a good idea, but look at the economic impact this brings to the state as a whole, and also to our homestead economy. So we should have everything we need, I'm hoping, by March to walk in the door and either make our case before our legislators, and or if we get funded like we did last year, to make our case to the governor not to veto it like he did last year, because we can show there's an economic return on your investment,
right,
which is what the governor seems to like in his arguments. So.
Excellent.
Anything else, Mr. Shelley?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments? Is there a motion on tab 3? Moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 4.
Mayor, the American Cancer Society is requesting Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $200 for the use of Losner Park to host a Relay for Life kickoff party on January 20th, 2017. The American Cancer Society is also requesting a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $1,000 for the use of the sports complex to host the Relay for Life walk on April 22nd, 2017.
Questions from council? Last year, Dennis, we had a conversation about why does it take $1,000 to use the grass field at Harris Field? And you said it was because you have to open up the restrooms or something. Your mic's on, so, I mean.
Yeah, the reason why, to let you know, the park fees, we never really rented that out before when we talked about it to the last council meeting at the sports complex. The only time we ever did that was for the circus. And as a matter of fact, they've been contacting us again to want to come back. But those were the fees that they charge, and that's what we kept. And the reason, Relay for Life used to be at the hospital, and now they're no longer there. But in the years past, they used to use the sports complex, and it's worked out great for them every year.
I just had an issue with the fact that there's just a grass field and it costs $1,000. It doesn't cost us $1,000 for them to use that, that grass field. So this makes real easy sense for me as, as an elected official. So.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moving and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 5.
Mayor, the University of South Florida Center for Urban Transportation has awarded the City of Homestead a 20-week traffic enforcement education grant to educate the public and enforce safe pedestrian, bicycling, and driver behavior in order to reduce traffic-related fatalities and serious injuries. The grant contract time period is December 15, 2016 through May 15, 2017 for the amount of $10,000. The university will provide the police department at no charge all educational information that will be distributed by the Homestead Police Department Traffic Unit. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement with the University of South Florida Center for Urban Transportation and to establish budget for expenditure of funds.
Questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just for my understanding, I was reading the packet here, and I couldn't get a good understanding of what the education campaign component entails, because in reading it, I see that there are various intersections that will have high visibility enforcement, but where does the education component come in?
It can be a combination of things. What we're looking at is probably some part of it going towards a media blitz as far as a campaign to put some articles in the newspaper and so forth, some advertisement concerning that, but also look at the educational level as far as maybe reaching out to some of the schools and doing some programs within the schools.
Okay, so it hasn't been defined as of yet,
No, ma'am,
the
it has not.
education component, because I see everything else has been defined. When that is defined, can you communicate that to the education committee?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Any other questions or any other comments? Is there a motion? Is there moved and seconded? All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Tab 6,
Florida Department of Law Enforcement provides funding to municipalities for law enforcement overtime in order to investigate domestic violence cases. The amount of funding is determined by each municipality's uniform crime report that is provided to FDLE annually. During this contract cycle, FDLE has awarded the City of Homestead $7,992 for law enforcement overtime to be used for the investigation of domestic violence cases. There is no match to this grant award. The grant funding will begin upon approval and execution of the grant agreement and will end 9/30/2017. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to execute the grant agreement from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and approve the budget for the expenditures of funds.
questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Yes, just one question, not asking for any specifics, but how active is the department with investigating domestic violence cases?
We're very active in keeping up with the updated training that's provided, along with having specific investigators assigned to the domestic violence unit and also working through SOS to get the victims and families counseling and care and so forth. So we take it very seriously as far as the enforcement.
But when you say very active, can you kind of quantify that to give me a frame of reference?
You know, we don't just take it through the investigation of a domestic violence case, but we work very closely with the SOS program and other shelters and so forth to make sure that the victims and the families are cared for, and it's followed up through our investigators that are assigned in the general investigative unit there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any, is there any kind of a number statistic? I mean, do you do 1,000 cases? Do you do 5 cases, 50
Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers here, but unfortunately, I can quantify the fact that we do handle a large number of domestic violence cases here.
Was that kind of what your question
Yeah.
was, Vice Mayor? So why don't, if you could put some stats together for us so that we can kind of have an idea of how big of an issue this is and what kind of numbers are you dealing with? So
Yes, sir.
just for informational
Right.
purposes.
Be more than happy to. I'll take care.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
No, that's all.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 7,
Mayor, staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to purchase one front loader truck. This purchase also includes the installation of the required additional equipment for the vehicle for a total purchase price of $259,896. This purchase is budgeted for in this fiscal year. It's part of the capital project 702.
questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second? This is budgeted, correct?
Yes.
All in favor? Motion carries. Tab 8,
Mayor, this is also a public works purchase. Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to replace one trash crane. This purchase also includes the installation of the required additional equipment for the vehicle for a total purchase price of $173,213. This purchase is budgeted in this current fiscal year as part of capital project 560.
questions from council? Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, quick question. I think we've asked this question before. I don't remember the answer, but it related to the trash crane and related to the bulk trash pickup. As far as the claws that are using, I think we'd ask whether or not there was a different claw that could be purchased or utilized that didn't cause quite as much damage to the ground itself as far as digging. I know there was some discussion then that a lot of it's a crane operator error versus but did we ever look into that? Did we ever look into see whether there was a way to pick that up without causing so much damage or digging so many holes across the city?
Well, the claws that are used for residential pickup, which is what this is going to be used for, are, they're half-bucket claws, what they're called. They're flat, so they don't have any teeth to them. So the purpose is for that, so that theoretically they're supposed to slide over the surface without digging into it with teeth, let's say, like you would, if you were doing some type of construction work. So they are tailored towards residential pickup.
But is this the only game in town? This is the only type of claw you can purchase? Have we looked to see, because, I mean, I know from my own personal, yard gets torn up at times, but I've also seen the big holes that have been left all across the northwest and the southwest, so.
And
It's not necessarily working, and I know we go to a lot of expense as far as having to fill those holes and patch the damage, but have we looked into that? Is there another option out there for a claw mechanism?
For pickup of bulky waste, this is really the industry standard. This is what everybody uses, and yeah, what utilities do is they, like ourselves, is have a program to repair the holes once, because after a while, it does happen, you know, it happens everywhere in every city. We've contacted other cities, and they all have the same issue, basically, that we do, and it's just a matter of just keeping up with making sure that you do the repairs on a timely basis.
And the city has done a great job on making repairs, but
We do that, yeah.
I didn't know if we could save ourselves money on the front end and damage on the front end if there was another option, so I just wanted to ask.
It's
Thank you.
tough, yeah.
Sir, Mr. Maldonado?
It was just somewhat of a similar question, and I know on the east side in my community, and I sometimes drive through Waterstone, some of the communities there, and I see that we don't have the hose, and we do have boat pickup in our community pretty often, and you know, kind of surprised every time I drive through the community to see the amount of trash that we're constantly dumping, and I'm and I could see, you know, how important it is that we do have this boat pickup service. But I noticed that our grass is not really torn up as bad as the northwest and southwest. So is it that you guys are just sold, or is it you guys are dumping that much more trash on those areas as opposed to ours? You know, ours looks good, and I'm like, you know, I don't get the fact that our grass doesn't look bad, and we do put it on grass. I myself do it, but on the northwest and southwest, it's just like they're craters. So I don't get it.
It's hard to tell because we rotate the operators, so it's not just always the same operator that's on the west side or the east side. So we do rotate that.
That's true.
And usually the crane operators, they perform all over, it's not just in one particular section. But, you know, again, a lot of it has to do with the condition of the ground, different areas, you know, different type of grasses that even the sub grade in different areas may be a different type that could
They do a
be
good
more
job.
susceptible to being torn up.
I mean, in my community, I see them where they work together and they do a pretty good job where they're sometimes bringing it out to the street, and so they're not tearing up the grass, or just really helping out the effort so it's not as bad on the ground. I do see that when they're in the neighborhood, so they do a good job. I'm just, you know, I was kind of thinking about you when this is coming up, is like, is there another type that will do less damage north or southwest? You guys are just special, that's all. All right, thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moving and second, all in favor? Motion carries. Tab 9.
This is the last trash truck of the evening. Staff recommends Mayor Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to replace one trash truck. This purchase also includes the installation of the required equipment. Total purchase price of $104,277. This is budgeted this year as part of Capital Project 559.
Questions from council? Is there a motion on tab 9?
Move it.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 10.
The legislature of the state of Florida has awarded a $500,000 grant to the city of Homestead for the design and construction of the racetrack tower water booster station. No city match is required. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and authorize city manager to accept and execute the agreement with the legislature of the state of Florida.
Kudos to all of the council members that were able to go up and beat $500,000 out of the state last year. And this is all clearly money that we don't have to pay to increase a badly needed pump over by the racetrack. So kudos to everyone that had a hand in this.
Earned income.
Any questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 11.
Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the professional services agreement with the Homestead Main Street, Inc. Under the terms of the agreement, Homestead Main Street will conduct a series of events, engage in marketing activities that will attract visitors to the Homestead's Historic Downtown. The agreement is for $50,000 to be paid to Homestead Main Street in 12 equal monthly installments.
Questions from council? Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess one of my thoughts is that we have a specific name and events that we're requiring them to do, I guess. If I go back and if I read the contract correct, is that correct, Mr. Attorney? Or they're suggested?
There's a list at the end of the contract, which is called scope, Exhibit A, scope of work.
Right.
And events should include the burger bash. It says should include.
Okay.
It's not must
I
include.
think we're limiting. I'm not sure we should put names in there because unless I'm mistaken, last year we didn't even have a burger bash. So therefore they would have been void of or what, you know, they wouldn't have been one of the things that was written up on their scope of work. And I think as we move as a new city, that we need to start looking for a little more new blood, you know, some of the events, perhaps, you know, a jazz in the park or something, and we need to try some new things. And I think we're kind of limiting them if we put these 5 items or whatever it is, and they only do 7 or 8 a year. So in my eyes, I would like to see, excuse me, I've been fighting a cold, the removal of certain events and perhaps some new things, some new life as we bring it to us, because I go to just about every event down there, and some are very, very successful, and some are a struggle for Main Street to get people there. And maybe it's, you know, maybe we just need to readjust what we're bringing out as the product and what we're offering the public. And so I think that's one thing, that's one of my concerns. And I also think we have a tough time getting our message out to people. Because there's many times I walk around and say, are you going, even to the Christmas thing that was so well attended, to people and say, you going downtown to the tree lighting and all that tonight? And people go, what are you talking about? So I don't know, and we struggle not just with Main Street, but with a lot of city events or city news, struggle getting it out there somehow. So I think at some point, somebody in the city, we've got to sit down and come up with a new way to communicate. And I know we've got a new PIO here, and maybe she's the one with the answers for us. We've got to come up with a stronger way to get our message out, not just by a flashing billboard in the middle of the road tonight at tree lighting. But we've got to be able to get it out there and get it out there through however it needs to be, you know, put through the neighborhoods or whatever. We've got to come up with some new ideas. I know Facebook is a good idea and Twitter and all that stuff, but we still missed the mark, I think, when we're advertising these events downtown. So at some point, somehow, there needs to be a better way for those messages to get out. You know, and I'm here tonight, and I want to see some new things downtown. I like the idea, and I know that we need representation down there besides ourselves. But I think that we need to get, I don't know if it's a better working relationship with the city and ideas or what it is, but I think we need to get some new blood going down there with the different events to try to draw people. Like I said, I think a lot of these events have been over and over the year, the same theme or whatever. Some of them work, some of them don't. We need to do away with those that don't and come up with new ways to attract people down there. And I'll leave it at that for now in case somebody else has anything to say, or if Ms. Knowles would like to come up, or anybody from the Main Street Board. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. I know, Ms. Knowles, I know you sent out to meet with me. It was just last minute, so really didn't get to talk about it. But I had somewhat of a same concern, because where I question people in my neighborhood, you know, I'm going to go to the event and I ask them, you know, somewhat what Councilman Burgess just said, where are you going to this event? And a lot of people are kind of like oblivious. They look at me like, what are you talking about? I wasn't able to go to the Christmas one, but I saw the turnout, which was good. And so communication and how we're going to get that message out there would be the only question that I was going to kind of bring up in our meeting and even to this one today, where, we need, I guess same thing what Councilman Burgess is saying, just, how do we get that message out there? Because they're good events, and the people on the east side, Waterstone, my area, Waterstone and Malibu Bay, some of them have attended, didn't want to go back, and then others, just never heard of it. And so it seems hard. And when I do go over there, it's kind of the same crowd. I want to say it's more the west side than the east side. So I guess I'd want to see more of the east side involved. They are the new part, that we want to draw them in to who is Homestead, the historical downtown area, all the great things that we grew up enjoying down here, and those events that are happening. So I would say my only concern with this, and what I'd like to see as well, is just how do we reach out more to the east side, because I honestly, I'm kind of like, are you serious? You didn't hear about this? What's happening? They're like, nope. So I'm like, I go, what about, and then I know we do have that one sign, but I don't know, maybe you don't look at it. I don't think it's enough. So I would agree with what he's saying, Councilman Burgess, in regards to that, just some more outreach on the east side. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I know that when this came before us last year, the first time that we had, I think, made Main Street a permanent function or a permanent line item in our budget. One of my concerns was, or not concerns, but one of the things I wanted to see was a tighter partnership between, say, Main Street and the city of Homestead. Because I think, hearing exactly what you guys are saying, I have some of the same, what I envisioned is that Main Street had always had the thing where they had some of the infrastructure, but they needed help. So I envisioned once we brought Main Street on board as a contractor for the city, that they would be an extension, almost like extra employees or extra labor bodies and planning to help the city put these events on. And I haven't necessarily seen that. Some of the events, yes, the Christmas lighting and some of that, where there's clearly a city presence with Parks and Rec or otherwise working hand in hand with Main Street, and as a result, you usually have the bigger crowd. And then you have other events where Main Street doesn't have the resources that it needs from the city or the assistance that it needs from the city to market it, to get the information out, to help plan it, and you end up with a lot lesser crowds or very little attendance. And so what I'd like to see, is that partnership grow to use them as I envisioned that we would use them, which is as an extension or an arm of the city, because we're investing all this money in our downtown. And so I want to see us be able to have good events, to bring people down there and make them want to come back. And I think in order to do that, we're going to have to work hand in hand. I don't think it can be just here's some money and go forth and put the event on it, because I don't think that that's how Main Street is established or set up to work as well. So I mean, that's kind of, I'm on the same page as some of what you guys are saying, but I think it's one of the things where the city needs to be a better partner and work in conjunction on most all the events with Main Street to make sure that they're going to be successful. And then I have a question for the city manager or city staff, and that is, have we ever done, related to the broader discussion of communication, have we ever done a communication study or looked into getting a consultant on board to figure out what is the best way to get our messaging out, regardless of what it is, but our city messaging to our community? Have we looked into that or thought about trying to see what works best for our community? Because each community is a little bit different. And is there an expert or is there somebody that we can bring on board to help us to establish a communication plan for our community?
A couple of things. I have a little different perspective on this, so forgive me, but I feel like I need to weigh in on the other side of this. There are events that the city budgets for on an annual basis where we come to you in a budget annually and we say, this is what it costs. Because any one of these events, if it involves city staff, it involves resources. And so with that comes expense. And so as you'll know, when the city pours all its efforts into it, you see, I think, a pretty good turnout. In fact, we've had this event at the City Hall, we turned out 1,000 people. The Seminole Theater, we turned out 1,000 people. I'm not necessarily sure that we need a communication plan. I think when we put our efforts into it, I think you see the results and we get people out. And I think the events that Main Street's putting on, absent those city resources, you see the difference because the resources actually matter. And so I would just suggest to you that if there's any items on this list that you feel require additional city resources where the city hasn't been involved, that's a very simple matter of just adding it to the list during budget time, and we're happy to do any events. Just these events are costly, and as you know, we pick and choose just because of financial resources. In terms of some of the other events that they've done without city resources, well, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the downtown is evolving. And so we've all agreed, both Main Street and this council, mayor council, that our downtown needs help. And it's the reason why we've had this economic development plan and why we're doing all these projects is the sad truth of the matter is that in some cases, there's not a whole lot to do when you have your event there, because a lot of these downtown events that are successful, they work in synergy with the area businesses that are open, restaurants and bars and a bunch of other things that create a critical mass. And so this becomes a chicken and the egg problem. And so I would just suggest to you all that we have a very solid plan here in terms of how to turn this downtown into a thriving business center. And I think we're all in agreement on that. And we're probably 2 seasons away from having, the energy that's going to be created by a movie theater and a bowling alley and a library and all the other things that we're doing, restaurants and bars. And so we're going to likely be laughing about this discussion in a couple of years, hopefully. In the meantime, if you want to pour more resources into city staff, I would just suggest we have that conversation at budget time, and we can help out any way you'd like. It's just, I think it is a little unfair to compare city events with Main Street events when the city is not involved, because we have thousands and thousands of followers on our Facebook, and we do a bunch of other things, all of which cost money, by the way. And if Main Street doesn't have those resources, it's more difficult for them to spend that money to do that. And also, from a policy perspective, yeah, you all need to think about, do you want to spend thousands of dollars on a burger battle or whatever else is on this list, the Crab Festival and all these other things? It's just a function of money. And I think we can generate crowds with the right resources, but they don't happen by themselves absent a thriving business community, which we're lacking right now. But God willing, at some point, we're likely to be having a discussion about people complaining about the traffic and they couldn't find on-street parking. And so those will be bigger and better problems to solve 2 years from now, God willing.
And can I follow up there? And so I agree with what the manager's saying. And so maybe it's a function of quality versus quantity, because my concern is if you have these events downtown and the city's not in conjunction and helping promote it and get the crowds and make it a big event, maybe the first time someone comes downtown is for one of those events and they see a few people and there's not much going on right now, there's still a work in progress for our downtown. So the concern is that person then tells, 5 of their friends, and then it says, well, yeah, we don't want to go downtown. There's nothing going on down there. And so that's my concern is not putting our best foot forward as a partnership. And so maybe the concept or maybe the discussion needs to be picking our signature events and having fewer events, but making those events great versus having a multitude of events and having some of them being less attended or less impressive. And so maybe that's where the discussion goes. I don't know.
We can meet with them, discuss the idea of maybe doing fewer. I would suggest that the councilman's idea of removing these as specifics, and then we can go ahead and come back to you with a plan, working in consultation with Main Street. And again, my hope would be that we don't come back to you and we say we want to do all these other city events without budgeting something for it, and maybe the idea is, this is not the time to be adding, or if you do, we just have to figure out where the money comes from.
And one last thing, and I would just say, and I'm not always saying that it has to be a huge buy-in, but we do have resources. We do have Facebook followers, and so maybe you don't run the ads, but you at least post frequently. There are other ways that we can help promote and some of the smaller events, if that's where this ends up going, where we have some big events and some small events. But there are some resources that probably don't put a lot of pull or drag on the city itself that we could help make more available to to Main Street in a partnership of helping them accomplish our goal, which is have a good impression of people that come to the events. And that's my biggest concern, is making sure that each event that we have is a fully successful event.
Great.
Anything else, sir? Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. And the manager alluded to what my next comments were. I think as a body, if we're going to move this forward, that we should remove the specific events and not limit them or make them have to do those as if they perceive that they must follow this agreement, and allow them to come up with some creative, or maybe some of them that are better attended and that they know, but they're comfortable doing them, but come up with some new ideas, as the manager has stated also in that. So I would like to see that language is removed, and perhaps some other discussion as to what we might be able to do with our vision for downtown too.
Yeah, and one part of the discussion, maybe we're going to be doing a New Year's Eve event next year likely,
Right.
so that's going to be added to the budget. That'll be an expense, and it'll also be a partnership with Main Street, and so to have these specific ones, it makes a lot more sense to just leave it blank, and then we'll just remove those sentences, and then we'll come back to you with a plan that Main Street proposes.
So your idea is then that you'll come back with a minimum amount of events, or a certain amount of events that you think can be done budgetarily with what they have at a reasonable.
Right, I want to hear more from them as to which events can they do kind of on their own without having to impact our budget, and then see if you're satisfied with those, if that's sufficient, and/or if there's a specific item or a specific event that you feel you want us to apply city resources for, beyond the normal, because each of these will post on our Facebook, but posting on Facebook is different than actually having a budgeted an advertising budget for Facebook. They're really two different things, and also some of the other things that we do. It really doesn't happen by accident, and it's a function of resources, dollars.
I mean, that would be my idea, is that we eliminate those specific events, allow them to.
So the paragraph would stop with area, period. So the sentence starting with events should include, that would be deleted. Is that your motion?
That would be my motion, yes.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Burgess?
No, thank you.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have one question, I guess, for Main Street. And, besides from the money that you get for the grant for $50,000, is there more resources coming towards Main Street that you're working on receiving, would you? And to help out, and what her goal, what Main Street goal is to bring more folks to the downtown area. So besides what you get from the city, is there any other resources that you pull in to help you and what you're trying to do?
Yes, Councilman Maldonado. Right now, we have membership in Main Street. We have sponsorships for our events, and we have the vendor fees that come in that help also in the budget for the Homestead Main Street program.
Okay. And how's that working out for you? What you have already in place in regards to that?
The vendors
is it just
have been
covering it, or is it?
Sorry?
Are you just making it, or is it?
Our budget income this last year was $83,000, of which $50,000 came from the city. So we did 50 plus another $15,000. So we had $65,000 out of the $88,000 that came in from grants from the city. But the project right now that we're working on, which we were talking about, was the redesigning our program as far as our events, was something we've been all talking at the board level also. And we are thinking the ones that bring in the most attendance and also the revenue for us are a limited group of maybe 3 events. One is a Christmas event, certainly, which is a huge following. Our Mardi Gras crawfish boil, which is another very big event. And we've seen a great success with the Eco Fair, with a lot of people coming, and that's a joint venture with the city. And I really applaud your concept of trying to get more marketing for us, because that's really what we're desperate for. Our budget is tight. We had grown our Facebook presence from 400 to 1,400 right now, so we are getting the word out. But the Facebook advertising, the print advertising is just way too expensive for us for our situation right now. So we're really out there passing out flyers, passing out save the date cards by hand, and trying to get out the community. It has been a challenge for us to get on the east side because so many of these communities are gated, so we can't get in, we can't get to the clubhouse, we can't get the word out. And unless they go to Facebook, there's no way of reaching those people. And that has been a challenge. We've gone to the HOAs and they say we can't, we just don't pass out printed material. So we're standing at the gate, sometimes actually standing at the gate, passing these people drive into their HOAs. But we really, if we can find some way of working with the PIO here at Homestead and getting the word out through your great access to the media, that would be phenomenal, because we've seen that happen with the Eco Fair. When the Eco Fair, which is a joint venture, we get so much more attendance because of the city working with us on that. So we really would appreciate that kind of support.
Perfect, thank you. My next, I guess, advice or question or help, what I would suggest, whether you guys do it yourselves or you get someone to help you develop it, and as well as maybe George for in the city, we all have followings and a lot of folks stay active on our pages as well. Sometimes you might, for instance, post something in Main Street, but it's only going to 1,400 followers, where one of us might have like close to 2,000 followers. So if we have media kits, social media kits, as I would say, and that would be something very simple, is just, if it's a flyer with the event that you send to us, via email, then we could then, take in and then post on our sites. I think we could help you out as well. But the development of that social media kit's is what you guys are what I would suggest you need to do, because then it makes it easier for ourselves to then re-share it. Because there's a difference, and obviously I do this for a living somewhat. There's a difference in Facebook when you share someone's event as opposed to you paste or create your own event. Yeah. If you take someone's event of community newspaper, Mr. Gressa just shared that the other day, he's sharing that, and he'll get some followings. But if he does this, something like a flyer on his own, a picture and a PDF, and he writes something about it, you're going to get a lot more hits on that. So you have to have somewhat of an understanding from that. But what's going to help us council members to help you is to get some type of social media kits to us so that we could help you then.
Yeah, if I can come to you and ask for some guidance on what a media kit should look like, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, but I'll help you out in that sense. Well, obviously, won't charge you for that or anything, but I would definitely help you out with that. But you got to have that. That's one of the only ways that we're going to be able to really get it out there.
I appreciate that suggestion.
All right, that's it.
That's it, sir. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I don't think anyone up here is not in support of Main Street, because we are in support of Main Street.
Thank you.
But I do believe there was some very healthy and constructive feedback that has been provided to you to help strengthen Main Street and your attendance at some of the events. I'm not in favor of adding some of these to the budget to impact it financially. I think it takes some more creative savviness to give you some more support. I don't believe that perhaps we shouldn't have an event every month, like you have some of them back to back every month. Perhaps condense them and bring more quality events that are a bigger draw. And we have been conversating about the seafood festival. I mean, I travel the state for seafood festivals. And I have posted once, if we were to host a seafood festival in Homestead, who would come? And if everyone who liked and commented on the post, it would be more people at that event than a couple of these events combined. So I think we have to strike when it's hot. Seafood festivals are very, very popular, and they cancel the one in Isla Mirada. So this is a huge opportunity for us to capitalize on that. It may take some more time to plan because we have to bring the restaurants in, but I think it's worth a try. And once we really get the downtown thriving and really give people a reason to come beyond the seafood festival, I think we'll be onto something. So I think that is something that you should consider, definitely a seafood festival.
Yeah, we tried it with our we call it the Sea Hunts Festival.
It has to be seafood.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right. We missed a very important ingredient. We could not get the Key Largo fisheries and all these people. Well, the Key Largo fisheries did come and help us out, but the other restaurants just wouldn't participate. So because they felt we were competing with the Keys. So I worked with the Key Largo Chamber of Commerce trying to get them to come up and be part of the event, and that wasn't too successful. But I think we're on to something. I think you're absolutely right. The food was a missing word, as opposed to we were trying to do a scavenger hunt also. We're trying to do what we're trying to also respond to is what I get in an email from the community is, there's got to be something every month because we know there's nothing happening downtown unless we do something at least once. They're asking me to do 2 and 3 things a month because they're just, looking for things to do in our community.
I don't think
So-
it's effective every month.
Yeah,
You may have
exactly.
100, 200 people, all that time and resources for, I don't want to minimize the people who come, but
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. Our Sea Hunt Fest, we had like 200 people show up, and that was kind of a disappointment, but it was our first time.
Right.
But the Eco Fair, we're in our 3rd year now, and each year it's growing and growing and growing. So, working with the city has really proven to be a magic bullet for us as far as getting people to come in. And except for our 2 big events, the other events can really benefit with some rethinking. And so I like the idea of a jazz festival. I was
really
talking
like
about a
that.
battle of the bands with the various high schools, the real, various groups we have in our community with the kids. So there's a lot of ideas on the table, and maybe working with the city, we can come up with some successful events in the future.
well, I'm on board for the seafood festival.
I know. And I will definitely make sure it doesn't become Sea Hunt. It's definitely going to go into seafood. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. As I was sitting here, I thought of one way that we do send out notices at some point, and a certain amount of characters are free, and we could do that on a monthly basis is our utility bills. And we certainly would want to, if we're going to do an event in February, we'd want to start in December if there's no other messages, because it is limited to a number of characters. And perhaps they can put that in red or whatever, something so it stands out that people, when they get their utility bill out and they open it up, there is something that says, hey, such and such an event downtown on Friday, January, whatever, or February, whatever the date is. And then just one other comment to go back to the Facebook postings and things like that. Facebook has a guide, and there's specific times of when you want to post because they know when the most people are looking at it. So you might post something at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and by the time that guy gets home at 5 o'clock, it's washed out because he's had so many more posts that have shown up on his timeline that he doesn't scroll that far down. So they have very specific science that they've come up with that they share with people. And I know this because my wife does it whenever they're doing the dog events. It's, okay, we got to post at 6, and you can go in. You don't have to get up and do it. You can get up and say,
Yeah.
tomorrow morning at 5:55, because people are going to start getting up at 6 o'clock, boom, and then it goes, and then it shows up. So they have helpful things like that can be found too, so.
I've just signed a contract with Release Solutions, and they are doing our website and our Facebook posts, helping us. So they are giving me the education and the instruction on how to do all this, and we just signed them on about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can get fast
Yeah,
on
because it's
the
down,
learning
and now
curve.
people have it down to a science now and know when to hit it and when not to hit, their post. And just one other event that I've spoke about in the past and I think would be very beneficial is, and I know we just came off of the Christmas holiday, but we do that beautiful tree lighting, and then everybody walks away, and there's nobody else there. And I thought of, we've got all these schools. We only have a couple schools that are able to come out and fill the time slots that night of the tree lighting, and unfortunately, there's however many more schools around town that don't. We do the 12 days of Christmas or something where two choirs come every night, or a band and a choir from different schools, and give a lot of people opportunities to come down there, one, to come down there and perform, but two, to come down there and enjoy what we've put up and spent the money on, instead of having somebody unplug the tree so they can put their phone charger in it or whatever it is happens downtown, and to fill the park up and get a festive mood through the entire month of December. So that was
Yeah.
something that I had spoke about a couple of years ago, but unfortunately it never gained any traction.
Well, Councilman Burgess, one thing we did do after the December 2nd event, which was the tree lighting, December the 16th, we had the Posada, and we had Main Street underwrote the $500 of that event, and that allowed them to have it in the park and also to be insured and everything. We even provide the borough for Mary. And I was thinking we'd had maybe 40, 50 people coming down the street because they stopped at the various businesses. They ended up at Main Street, and then they went across to the park. about 500 people were coming down Chrome Avenue.
I see.
And we didn't close Chrome Avenue, so they were all on the
Right.
sidewalk. And I have never seen a crowd like this before, and they were really into this celebration. It was my very first time. I was contacted by Maria Garza to help out, and I was just blown away by the number of people who came into that event. So I agree. Once we get that tree lit, we should be doing more than just one event, which is the lighting ceremony.
And I think with the amount of schools that we have in the local area anymore, we'll be able to fill up several nights of full entertainment and have large crowds there every night because every parent wants to go out and see their child play or perform.
It just takes money. We
I
got to pay for
understand.
the police. We
But
got to
with-
pay for
well-
this insurance. Yeah.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe we can work it out.
Okay.
Yeah, just throwing an idea out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
I just want to add on to that a little bit. Man, your creative juices are flowing tonight, John Burgess. And now you have me going. But I really like that 12 nights of Christmas because with the La Posada, who's facilitated that? The Garzas, right?
The Garzas.
You can have
the
a school
Mexican
host-
American Council.
You can have a school or a different organization host a night. Like Air Base Elementary, multicultural night, a group with Kwanzaa, to make it multicultural. And you have different groups of people coming each night to take advantage of the whole ambiance of the holiday season. I really like that, John.
We just had King's Day also, which is a
Right.
very, very big deal in
Right.
Miami. I don't think we do anything here in
And with these
Homestead.
schools, they bring their own base. You have kids performing on stage, you're going to pack the house. So each night, a school hosts the event and do all the work because you can't do it all. They have the manpower and the expertise to do it. I think that is a great idea.
We could just help support it and organize the.
Oh, the education committee can help support that as well.
We can work on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Is there a motion on tab 12? I'm sorry, tab 11.
You have an amendment that needs to be voted on first.
But the motion was made to amend it to eliminate the,
Right.
the.
Right. You need to
Is
vote
there-
on the
is there-
amendment
is
first.
there was a motion made. Is there a vote on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Motion carries as amended, right? Now we're going to vote on the item as amended. Okay? Is there a motion? Move. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? Yes. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.